paint along with Miss Peach. Get those wacky art supplies ready. We're going to learn how to make texture.
Hi! Today we're going to do some painting with some inexpensive but unusual art supplies that I found at our local Dollar Tree and Walmart, cheap old places. Almost all of them are $1 and under for your art supplies. You don't need all of them, but you could just pick a few and make some cool art with some unusual texture too. You know what? We're gonna paint without a paintbrush today. Yeah, that doesn't sound possible. Sure it is. Anything is possible in art. So I'm gonna pull it back so you can see all of my art supplies today. Wowee! This is a lot of stuff. So, check it out. I have some cool things. Before I start though, I need to make sure that I'm in a place that's okay to paint. And you might make a mess today. So I would advise getting one of these cheap old dollar tablecloths and spreading it out wherever you paint. That way if you make a mess, you can just roll it up and clean it up. Also, you might want a wet rag or a wipe so that if you do get paint somewhere you shouldn't, you can quickly wipe it up before it dries. Notice I'm also in an art apron today. That's a nice thick material to keep paint from getting on my clothes. You might want to wear an old t-shirt, but whatever you do, make sure it's a thick t-shirt, not a thin one, so that it will protect your clothes. The third option is just to wear some clothes you don't care about. If you know you're going to paint, that's probably the best idea. Now, look at all this other stuff. I've got a nice thick big piece of paper. You can use any paper, but if you're painting, I advise you use a thick piece. So I'm going to take my fingers and rub like this and rub it together. If it's thick, then it's good for painting. If you rub it and it feels very thin, then it's probably a better drawing piece of paper. All right, let's see, what else do I have? I have some paint. This one you can find at the Dollar Tree. It's Prang. It's a small bottle, but it might be really good to get you started. This one I found at Walmart. This is Crazy Art. It is not the best paint, but it's the cheapest one they had on the shelf. This one's kind of transparent. That means that you can kind of see through it. This one is more opaque. It means you can't see through it as much. Now this one is my best paint. I actually went online to a store called Blick Art Supplies, which a lot of art teachers go to, and artists, and I just ordered a big gallon. You can get it in any size, but because I paint so much here at Brumfield, I've decided to get the big gallon. Notice also, I just got red, yellow, and blue. Those three colors are called the Pop Quiz. What are they called? You know it, the primary colors. If you didn't know, now you do. The cool thing about the primary colors is you can only buy 3 and mix them together to make all the other colors, which is just really cool. All right, so I've got red, yellow, and blue, and I'm going to put them to the side. Now, what about this other big pile? I had a little bit of a shopping spree. You do not have to have all of these things. I'm just gonna show you how some unusual things can be used for art today. So here's what I got. I got a box of toothbrushes, never been used. How are we gonna use those for painting? Also, this one is from the Dollar Tree and it comes in this nice little container that you can use for a water container if you need it too, so you could rinse things off. Some of these bath sponges, what? They've got some really neat texture and a string that you can hold. Combs, yeah, if you turn them on their side, you can drag through and get some cool textures. Party favors, these are those spin tops. I can hold here and spin in a puddle of paint, and my paint will do something unusual. Sponges, found in the cleaning section. This type of sponge can be great to drag across the paper and fill the space very big. This is called a squeegee. It does the same thing, and you can find it in the cleaning section. You've probably seen your parents clean off the windshield of their car with a squeegee, but you can use it to drag paint, which is awesome. These are also in the cleaning section. They're still wool, and they're for doing your dishes, but we're gonna use them for paint because they have some unusual curlicue lines that might look kind of neat. This is a sink mat, but it's got holes in it. If I put paint through that, it's gonna give me a perfect square, which is really interesting. What else do I have? clothespins for when I'm done. I can hang it up on a string in my house and let it dry so it's out of the way. Or I might even find something to paint with these. That could be cool. These are from the kitchen section at Dollar Tree. This is one of those brushes that you use to put marinades before you grill. And it's got some really unique textures. This is a rubber spatula. Now this is the double-edged one. It's got a thin side and then a thicker side on this side, but I could drag this way and get a thick line, drag this way and get a thin line. A potato masher. Wonder what that would look like with paint. Some plastic forks. I could drag it and get 4 even lines. And some balloons in the party section at Dollar Tree. Blow these up and go boop, 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 and get some different textures too. All of these things are really fun. All of them were $1 each. You do not need all of them, but I'm gonna show you the different marks they make. And I hope that you could look around and see what unusual objects do you have to make textures with paint in your house. Make sure though, if you use it, you ask if it's okay first, because once you use it, you can never use it for anything else but painting, especially your kitchen stuff. Ugh. Okay, I've got my space ready and I'm excited to paint. So, I pulled out that plastic cloth and put it over my table. So if I make a mess, it's no big deal. I have my nice thick paper. I'm using a big piece because I'm experimenting with so many different textures today, but you can use any size you want. I just recommend thick. Now, I've also got some paper towels ready to go, and I've taken the lid of that toothbrush holder and made it into a nice little water container. Remember, none of this will be used for toothbrush brushing at all. They are now only art supplies. So let's start with our first texture. I'm gonna start with the toothbrush. The cool thing about these is they make a different type of texture on my paper. And I can always clean these out and use them for different colors. I'm gonna start by just putting some globs of paint onto my paper today. You can, if you don't like this idea and you want something more precise, have another section like a palette. So something hard, like a piece of wood or another piece of paper that's nice and thick to use as where you dip into. I'm just gonna go right onto my art because I'm not doing anything precise, just worried about making some cool textures. I'm also gonna move my water so it's out of my way and I don't knock it over. I'm gonna start with just any old brush and then I'm gonna take my paint and drag it. Try tapping it, get a different texture. It's all about experimenting, but I don't want to leave any puddles of paint onto my paper. Now I can put that brush into the water, stir it up, and mix it up. If you have an old rag, you can use that, or a paper towel will work too. And I'm just going to use it to kind of clean off the excess red paint. That also turns my water red, so you kind of look like a magician. I think I'm going to add a little bit of yellow. I have this big yellow, but you don't need a big yellow container. You can get any kind of color you want. I just wanted to show you the different types of paint earlier. I just started with a blob. I can use the same toothbrush and save these and not make them art brushes, or I can get a different one. Now the cool thing about dragging the paint over, look what I just did there. I made orange. Do you see that? And I'm curving my hand to get a sweeping motion. Red plus yellow makes orange. That's exciting. And you're gonna find some really fun excitement today. Okay, so that's the toothbrush texture, which you could do your whole paper with toothbrushes if you want instead of paintbrushes and get something unusual. I'm gonna take my toothbrushes and set them behind me and try something else out. How about some blue paint, this time with, I think, some kitchen supplies. So here are my 3 kitchen supplies that I bought. I have a potato masher, a spatula, and one of these things to put marinade on, like a little kitchen brush. None of these things are gonna be used for the kitchen at all anymore. They're only paint tools now, okay? So you could always ask the grown-ups around you if they have old kitchen supplies that they don't want anymore or they don't use. Maybe they were planning on putting them in the yard sale or donating them to a thrift store. Maybe instead of doing that, you could turn them into art. Artists are smart like that. We take things other people don't want and make them an opportunity to make something great. Okay, let's get some blue on this paper and see what happens. Now remember, I'm using Crazy Art Blue. It is not my best blue paint, but it's a little transparent. But sometimes that can be exciting and get you an unusual texture. I'm very excited to try out this marinade brush. Let's see what happens. Beautiful lines, and it drags out and gets kind of wispy. Oh my goodness, I just put it in that yellow and made green. Do you see that? I made green. I never even had green paint. So far I've got green and orange that I never even had. I made it myself. You can do that too. Now it really doesn't matter what age you are. You could be a grown-up in doing this, because painting like this is exciting, but also can calm you down by just making something great. Really love this. I'm definitely gonna keep that in my art kit. That's awesome. Okay, let's try the spatula. If I turn it this way, oh wow, that's cool. I can see underneath because I just dragged the layers of paint. This is why you want a thick piece of paper, because you can see even my thick paper is starting to wobble now, and that can be a little tricky. Cardstock is good if you want to try cardstock, but definitely make sure you feel it between your fingers and make sure it feels thicker than a regular piece of printer paper, because you could rip that. You're putting a lot of pressure onto it. All right, what if I turn it this way? I get a skinny line. I like that. That's pretty exciting. Cool. All right, gonna keep that in my kit too. I like it. Potato masher. Down and twist. Oh, that's cool. It's kind of dancing around my paint and doing something I thought it was gonna look like this, but it's not. It's getting kind of a cloud look. If I'm painting a sky with clouds, this could be the perfect tool if I just keep turning it. If you try out this tool and you have a different technique is for way to do something, then that's great. Share it with me. I would love to hear that. I like this twisting technique. I think it's kind of cool. That's gonna go in my art kit too. All right, some cool textures. I think I'm gonna set these in my art kit and get something else to try. I need some more paint too, because I gotta drag it around and it's starting to get thin. If it gets thin, you'll notice that you need to drag to add some more. So I'll just put a puddle of yellow right there. That's pretty big. I'm gonna get it out of my way and set it to the back. And how about a puddle of red? Just a little bit. Maybe just a speck, not a whole puddle. All right, here's what I have now. These things are found in the cleaning section. So here's a sponge. It has two textures, rough on this side and soft on this side. I actually have two sponges. Whoop. This one I think I'll try the rough side with for the yellow sponge, and for the pink sponge I'll try the smooth side. So let's see what happens. I could dab it down, dab, boop. Oh my goodness, I love that. It's giving me kind of a, I don't even know what to call that, kind of a speckled look. That's pretty cool. What if I drag it? Oh, what a gorgeous green I just made. I think I'm gonna drag it all the way to the edge of my paper because I wanna fill in all these gaps. Oh, it goes from dark to light too because it dragged the paint back. So that's the scratchy side. What if I tried the smooth side? Doot, 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 doot. Speckles! Love that too. Now let's try dragging it. Ooh, it's much softer, isn't it? I'm gonna go all the way to the edge, and because I put that mat down, it's okay, but it's gonna make my painting look great and fill my composition. I've noticed a lot of times kids just start right in the center and they stay in the center, but if you fill it all the way out, it looks good. Ooh, because it's so thin and it's mixing with the white of the paper, I'm getting a very faint pink. Love it. Unexpected. Now these can be washed out in any sink and I can use them again. I know that when you have a lot of water on in your sponge though, it's not good. So make sure you wring it out really good before you use it again. I'm gonna set those to the back. Let's get a puddle of blue here. See what we can do with some blue. Now remember, you don't have to use these brands. I just had these on hand and wanted to kind of show you the difference. They're pretty inexpensive, so they're easy to find places. But if you have your own paint, that's great. If you're using paint that's acrylic though, be careful. You need to wash out all this stuff because it will make it sticky and hard and never come off. I'm using tempera paint. If you look at the label, this says washable poster paint, but over on the side it is tell you what it is. Make sure that you get poster or tempera because that way it'll wash out much easier. If you get acrylic, it won't. And do not use oil paint for this scenario, okay? It won't work.
Staff, pardon the interruption. I know it's lunch break. We're going to do a pre-staff meeting at 11:15. It'll only last a couple minutes. The Zoom link is in your inbox. Thanks.
Okay, I've also got this bath sponge. Let's try tapping that on and see what that does. Ooh, that's fun. Gonna go all the way to the edge. That gives me a whole different texture. Love that too. That could be fun, just the whole thing done in that. That can be washed out too with tempera paint. Okay, now I'm gonna try this. This is a kitchen thing, and if I poke it, it gives me a different texture, so maybe I'll put my finger inside like that and see what I can do with that. Tapping and dragging do different things. Oh, cool. Texture is awesome in art. And because this looks like it's crinkly, but it's not, it's called implied texture. That means it's really actually kind of flat, but it gives you a different feeling, and it looks like if you touched it, it would be scratchy. Neat. All right, I've been dying to try this squeegee out. You ready? I'm gonna drag across the whole thing. No. Gorgeous. I had no idea. All the color underneath the layers start coming through with the squeegee. Oh yeah, love it. Going all the way to the edge. Now look, I have extra paint left on the squeegee. I'm gonna take my paper towel so I don't make it too messy and just wipe that off. If you have a wet rag or a wipe, that'll work too. Just so when you set it down somewhere else, it's not a big old mess for somebody else to deal with. You know what I haven't tried yet? Mixing primary color blue with primary color red. Anybody know what it's gonna make? Let's find out. How about, oh, I gotta try this. A blown up balloon. Okay, so I'm gonna dab it. Dab, dab, dab. It makes kind of polka dots. Oh, that's fun. And a fun sound, do you hear that? Boing, 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 boing. This one I really need my tablecloth underneath because it's making a giant mess. But I see purple happening. Yes. Whoa. And I'm not dipping it into the puddles anymore. I'm just kind of dragging it across, and I really like that. Get my paper towel, wipe that off, because that can roll around, or even pop it and just throw it away when you're done, because it could be a big old mess. How about a comb? Now, once you dedicate this comb for art, it can't be anything else. Remember, it's only going to be art. Some lines. Oh my gosh, I love it. Now this comb has a handle. I pinched it at the top. You could hold it on the handle and try. Ooh, that's beautiful. I'm gonna drag it off the edge of the paper so those lines keep going. Just love it. But there's different combs in that pack. There's a whole bunch. So if you just wanted to do a comb project, that could be really fun. I'm gonna try wiggly lines. Oh yes, 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 that's awesome. Beautiful. All right, and then I've got my spinner here. Because that's wobbly, it might not work as well. Let's try. Woohoo! Let's put a little paint on the edges of my spinner. That's a giant mess, but I love it. So make sure you do this outside or in a place that can get messy. Look, it's putting a little bit of splats here and there. Let's lift it and see what happened. And some of the curved lines are happening there. Where it's thicker and wetter paper, it doesn't work as well. So I'm experimenting. Some things are working better than others. If you're, whoop, well, it also spun right off the table. If you're doing the spinner, my recommendation is probably to do it early on, because look, it does better over here on the white paper than it does where the paper is wet from paint. It goes slower. But you can always try it. Hey, I got a fork. This plastic fork will only be used in art class. Let's see, I could drag it sideways. Ooh, made a squeaky sound. Or I can drag it like this and get more lines just like I did with the comb, but they're spread further apart. Oh, that's fun. That is really fun. Okay, just added a big puddle of yellow because I think my painting's needing some more yellow. As an artist, you can decide what colors you need. You don't have to use all three primary colors. If you're going for a purple, maybe you just want red and blue. You can also buy those colors if you want to try experimenting with mixing those. Warning, if you mix all the colors up, especially the three primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, you're gonna get a chocolate brown. Now, I happen to love that color brown. I think it's gorgeous, but you might not. So think about that as you're adding colors. What color do you want? All right, last texture experimenting. This is a clear dish mat that goes in your sink to keep your dishes from breaking. I'm gonna put that down. It has square holes in it. This is those clothespins, which is what I'm gonna use to hang this up when I'm done so it can dry. But I just added a regular old paper towel. And I'm gonna dip in my puddle and then dip on top and just dab up and down. Kind of like you're jumping on a trampoline. Bling, 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 bling. And what I'm trying to do here is get the paint to go into those squares. Bling, 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 bling. Wow. Check out this artwork. This is all stuff that I found at the Dollar Tree or cheap aisles or even in my house. You can find this stuff, but make sure you ask a grown-up if you can use it first. But you can make something gorgeous with unexpected art supplies. Pretty awesome. I can't wait to see what you make. Remember, if you're posting it, use hashtag JGBArt, and you can tag me at ArtfulMissBeach. All right, happy arting, have fun painting. Ooh, I'm a mess. I better go clean up.